What's going on, knuckleheads? Welcome to Get It Right Saturday nights with your host, the FightersRep. Today we're going to be talking about Colby Covington versus Tyron Woodley. This is the post-fight show, you guys. Appreciate you guys joining me. What can I say? What can I say? The story of tonight's fights, Colby Covington. And I think the person who got everybody's attention more so than anybody else this evening was Hamza Chimayov. Again, Hamza Chimayov. Apparently, I thought it was 14 seconds, but it's listed online as a 17-second beautiful one-punch knockout. Man. What a shot against Gerald Meerschaert, who's a guy, with 45 fights. I mean, Hamza didn't go in there and do this against some bum. You know what I mean? He went in there and he did this against a guy with 45 fights, man. Hamza is something else. We had Johnny Walker also get the KO TKO round number 1. Mackenzie Dern, I saw a very impressive submission from her. I don't even know what kind of submission that was. Kevin Holland got the win today in round 3. And of course, Colby Covington got the technical knockout over Tyron Woodley. I mean, they mentioned the word anticlimactic at the end of that fight because Tyron Woodley kind of tapped out, verbally, if you will, since perhaps he broke a rib or whatever happened. The referee came in and stopped the fight. Woodley was yelling out in pain, and the referee stepped in and stopped the fight. But I think anticlimactic is a good word for this fight because there wasn't really a lot of excitement. And I'll say this, I think the Tyron Woodley from a few years back would have been a lot more competitive than the Tyron Woodley we saw tonight. The Tyron Woodley I remember in his prime was a guy who was explosive. He'd explode at you. He'd hit you with a shot. He'd put you out if he landed one shot on you. He was a constant threat. He was like a coiled up snake, ready to strike at you at any time. But now he kind of just lumbers along in the octagon now. I feel like he hasn't aged well. I think perhaps he's got too much muscle mass on him for his frame. Maybe he's just labored and walking around with all that muscle. I don't know. He just doesn't seem to be able to pull the trigger anymore. Nowhere near the explosive athlete he was. It could be, because he's getting older. It could be because he's getting older, and I think we may have seen an aged Tyron Woodley. 38 years old now. Father time is unbeaten, and I feel like we're losing Tyron Woodley in the past few fights to father time, because I just don't think Tyron Woodley from a few years ago gets done in like that. Again, all respect to Cody and all credit to him, he got the win, but I didn't see anything special from Colby. He kind of went in there and did what he normally does. In fact, I thought he was actually not pressing the issue as much as he normally does. He was probably, apprehensive about what was going to be coming back at him from Tyron Woodley, but just nothing coming back. Very little resistance from Tyron Woodley. I felt like Colby Covington had an easy night tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I would have had to give him every single round probably in that fight, and just very uneventful. And again, I'm going to tack this one up to Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley had a good run, man. He had a good run. He was a guy, I remember back when he got knocked out by Nate Marquardt, I was just like, is this the end of this guy? And then he kind of rebuilt himself and became, a solid champion. When he beat Robbie Lawler, I was extremely impressed. I was really impressed with him when he beat Carlos Condit. I felt like, okay, here's a guy, that can become champion. He became champion. He had a couple hiccups along the road where his body kind of stalled on him as well, or perhaps it was the style. I'm talking about the Rory McDonald fight. I felt like he was kind of stuck in second gear or third gear like he was tonight. I think perhaps prime Tyron Woodley was maybe against Stephen Thompson in that second fight. I felt like the first fight was close. You could have probably awarded it to Stephen Thompson, but I felt like Woodley pulled off the second fight. I feel a little bit sad, watching him lose his last couple fights like this, because again, it doesn't look like the Tyron Woodley of old. It looks like an old Tyron Woodley. I don't know if you guys will agree with me on that one, but it's just sad to see, man. It's just sad to see. And then we had Donald Cerrone, just being being the gatekeeper. I hate to say it, man. Just being the gatekeeper. I mean, he was in the co-main event against Nico Price, a decent fighter. Who was, coming off a loss, I believe, against Vicente Luque. Close fight, a draw. Cerrone's always going to be exciting to watch. Nico Price is always going to be exciting to watch. But man, Cerrone just, I always, again, this is another guy I wish could have kind of kicked it into another gear and perhaps become a champion at some point. He just, I guess he just didn't have it. He came very close, but he just didn't have it. And tonight he got the draw. Very uneventful, but the name I think on everybody's tongue tonight. The name I think that's on everybody's tongue tonight. Hamza Chimayov, man. Wow. Just walking in there, everybody's been looking at him, been saying this guy, he's a wrestler more than anything. He's a Khabib 2.0 in a heavyweight division, basically, or in a heavier weight division. He's a middleweight. He fluctuates a little bit. But, Hamza Chimaev shows he's got some boxing tonight. And he said afterwards that his coaches, they wanted him to show off his boxing. And he went in there tonight, Hamza Chimaev did. And he showed the world that he showed the world that he is a real threat. I mean, this guy's an absolute demon on the ground. And I mean, the right hand he hit Gerald Meerschaert with tonight was, I mean, I hate to say it, was lightning quick, man. I mean, I did not expect that out of Hamza Chimaev. I didn't know his hands could move at that speed. And, to land a one-punch, one-hitter quitter like that in 14 or 17 seconds or whatever it was, just really impressive. I mean, and again, Gerald Meerschaert isn't the world beater. You know what I mean? He's not the world beater. But he's a guy with 45 fights. He's a guy with 45 fights. And, you can't sleep. You can't sleep on a guy with 45 fights. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, yeah, I'm blown away. I'm blown away by Hamza Chimaev. I'm blown away, and apparently, he's going to be fighting again real soon. I mean, this guy's like booking fights like he's an amateur. I mean, he's just running through guys like he's an amateur in the fight game, and he's not worried about injury. He just wants to get a fight in every week. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Knuckleheads, thanks for joining us. If this is your first time joining, hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon right below. Join Knucklehead Nation. We go live every Saturday after the fights, whatever fight it is, whatever big fight it is, typically following boxing or MMA. Tonight we had UFC. We had Colby Covington taking on Tyron Woodley. A lot of people were talking about the bad blood in this fight. But again, the fight just kind of fizzled. It just kind of fizzled out, as far as the anticipation we had for the fight, and it wasn't as exciting. But my goodness, it was a fun card to watch. And I mean, I'm just I know I said it already, but Hamza Chimayov, man, holy shit. Fight Life Nation's in the chat. Appreciate all you guys in the chat. You have any questions, leave it in the chat. Also, hit the like button, man. If you're in here, hit the like button. Almanac Sports, appreciate you being here. If this is your first time, guys, in here, I mean, just so you guys know, we put out content every day. I actually went out to Los Angeles Muay Thai today. I got what was probably the best striking sparring on the planet right now. I got footage, so I'm going to be uploading that either tonight or tomorrow. Obviously, we put out our free fights. We're the only kickboxing promotion in the state of California with a pro license, as far as I know. At least the only one that matters. And we got dope interviews too. Funny interviews, serious interviews in the fight game. So definitely subscribe to us. Check us out. Man. That was awesome by Hamza Chimayov. That's what we're looking for as fight fans. Fight Life Nation says, George, how the F are you? Marco, my brother, I'm doing well. Looks like your picks all right? To be honest with you, I didn't answer your message today because, like I told you, we were out at Los Angeles Muay Thai at noon. It was me and Ivan. Just getting some footage, man. Getting some footage, networking with the guys out there. Obviously, we're going to have to bring in a lot of fighters from over there. Tyron Woodley from the UFC, former UFC fighter, was there. AJ Bryant was there. Darren Smith was there. I mean, Chris Cully was there. The who's who of the striking community was there. It was a very impressive showing. Let me see what you said, Marco. You had, and this Fight Life Nation, you had Colby, Chimaev, Cowboy, Dern, and Span. You had a good night. The Cowboy thing is a draw. I can't blame you for that. And the Span fight, I mean, you got wrong. But other than that, you had a good night. I would have probably picked the same exact guys as you, I think. I would have picked the same exact guys as you. So, decent picks. Fight Life Nation says Hamza Chimayov is the future. Just so you guys know, I mean, I know there's a KHAMZAT. I mean, these are Arab names that have been sort of adopted by the people of the region of the Caucasus Mountains. So, when I see the KH, they seem to use it as the hard H in Arabic. And these are Arabic names. So it would be pronounced Hamza. Hamza, Ha is our strong H, and then Ha is our H like in English, the weaker H. So it would be Hamza. And Hamza is a pretty popular name, especially in Islam. And Hamza Chimayov is the future, is what Fight Life Nation is saying. And absolutely. I mean, if this guy can not only wrestle, but he can punch like that too. He can box. I mean, I wish we would have had a little bit more time to really gauge him. But I mean, he's wiping guys out, man. He's wiping guys out. Let's see him against a contender. Fight Life Nation says he's completely legit. This guy is too legit to quit like MC Hammer in the 90s, bro. This guy's stupid legit, man. And that's crazy, man. Dern got an armbar. Yeah, I mean, but it was such an unusual armbar. I was watching the replay, and I didn't get to catch the whole fight. I caught the end of the fight. I watched the replay. I saw her, wrap the girl's arm up in her legs or something. I mean, she can really fight, that Mackenzie Dern chick. She can really fight. But there's something about her that I don't like. I think it's probably because she missed weight a couple times or whatever. And she plays it off like, like it's not a big deal. I think it's a big deal. I lose a lot of respect for people that do that kind of thing. Gus Frank says, what the hell happened to T. Woodley? Gus, man, like I'm saying, like I'm saying, Gus, man, he's just aged, man. He aged. I mean, there's no way around it. There's no way around it. He's aged, and he just can't seem to muster another great performance. He's just aged and can't seem to muster another great performance. By the way, if you guys haven't already, pick up your Fighters Rep gear in the link below. Anything you guys purchase in the link below, it's just reinvested right back into the promotion. You'll be helping me build the best kickboxing promotion in the world. We've got 5 events lined up for next year minimum right here in Southern California. Obviously, we upload all the fights after the event for free right here on YouTube. We will be live streaming. I think the next event we'll probably live stream it on Facebook for a small pay-per-view amount. And then, just air all the fights afterwards on YouTube for you guys to watch for free. But, yeah, I mean, I do ask that you guys, anything you guys purchase in the link below, any donations in the super chat, whatever it is, it's going to go towards building this channel and building this promotion. Listen, Tyron Woodley, he's just aged, man. That's it. It's sad to see, but look, great career. Great career, man. I mean, I'm not going to tell the man to retire. He's got to come to that decision himself. But I think, if you're the UFC and you're looking at his last couple performances and, you're seeing the way he's performing. I mean, he's not really able to pull the trigger anymore. You know what I mean? He's just not able to pull the trigger anymore. He's gun shy. I think his body is just not doing what his mind wants to do. And that's a bad sign, especially at 38 years of age with the killers that are in that division. That division is stacked. There's no way he beats a Kamaru Usman. There's no way he beats a Gilbert Burns. There's no way he beats a Covington. I don't know. I don't know what he wants to do from here on out. Fight Life Nation says, George, let's be real. Boxing does not give cards like this. You don't watch Lopez versus Lomachenko and talk about the 4th fight on the undercard. That's typically true, Marco, but I'm such a big boxing fan that I would. But I know what you're saying. I mean, boxing is never going to give us, and I've said it till I'm blue in the face on this channel. Boxing's never going to give us those kinds of cards. It's never even going to give us more than 1 or 2 fights in a night, especially. Maybe more than 1 or 2 fights in a year where both guys really have a shot at beating each other. I mean, typically every fight in boxing is an A-side. Is an A-side versus B-side fight. Something we try to stay away from at Fighters Rep. But that's typically, what happens with boxing. But, I mean, hey, I'm still tuning into every boxing event, man. I love boxing. Of course, kickboxing is my baby, but I love boxing. Lomachenko versus Lopez is going to be absolutely ridiculous. I can't wait to watch that fight. That's a huge fight with huge implications. The rematch with Dillian White and Povetkin is another exciting one. I mean, apparently Wilder and Fury is going to happen in December. So let's see, man. Let's see. Don't shit on boxing yet. And you never know. I feel like Eddie Hearn, if boxing cards eventually do match UFC cards as far as quality goes, it's going to be pursuant to Eddie Hearn. Remember I said that. 92 Aku, what's up, brother? Appreciate you being in here. Says, yeah, UFC stacked these cards, man, for sure. Almanac Sports says, yeah, I want to see Colby versus Gilbert first time. Appreciate you being in here. And yeah, Colby versus Gilbert would be money. But I think Gilbert's got to get that Usman fight, man. He looks good. Fight Life Nation says, George, if you were in charge, who would you like to see Hamza fight next? Man, let's I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, what, you can give that guy anybody. Man. Let's take a look. Because I believe is he a 170 and a 185? Or a 155 and a 170? I mean, look, he can beat He can beat anybody, man. I mean, if you can outdo him in the hands, he's going to outdo you on the feet and vice versa. I mean, I think at this point, the way he's handling these people, I mean, he's a contender. Of course, I think you need to give him some fights to kind of warm him up. But let's take a look here. Let's take a look. I mean, I don't even know, I mean, what division the guy's going to stick to. That's the other thing. I give him a top 10, man. I give him a top 10 right off the top. I give him a top 10, 100%. Let me think about that one, though. 92 Aku says Charles fight next week and UFC card, too. Yeah, that'll be exciting, and I'm going to watch both, man. I'm going to watch both, bro. The Charlos are fucking beasts, bro. So, I'm going to watch both. Don't tell me what happened with Terrell Gausha tonight. I got to go watch that fight right now. Almanac Sports says, I love boxing, but I'm watching UFC next week. Yeah, man, I feel you. Claudio Morreal says, what's up? Just finished watching UFC. Gonna watch the top ranked fight. Has it started yet? Let me know, man. Let me know. Fight Life Nation, I'm not anti-boxing. I want to see the promoters step their game up. They have to. George, why are there so many Arab fighters from Russia? Just want an education. So these guys are not Arab per se. Arabs are from the Arabian Peninsula, right? So, Syria is the far north, and then, Lebanon, Iraq, Jordan, Palestine. You go down all the way into the Gulf Arab countries, Saudi Arabia. And then, you go across North Africa. Those are all Arab countries as well. Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, Egypt. These are all part of, kind of the Arab nation, if you will, the Pan-Arabism, the Arab Collective, whatever you want to call it. The Arab League is actually the name of the actual league. But so these guys that are from Russia, they're not actually Arabs. What they are is, so adjacent to the Arabs, you have the Persians and the Turks and other groups of people. And these people in the Caucasus, I mean, a lot of people confuse, Caucasian with Caucasus. I mean, of course, the race Caucasian, I guess, is given that name because apparently the original Caucasians come from the Caucasus Mountains. But these people are like a Turkic people. And, for millennia, Arab culture and these cultures that are adjacent. I mean, if you look at a map, Africa and the Arab countries and these Caucasus countries, they're all right next to each other. So there was a lot of intermingling and mixing and conquering and wars and the Egyptians took over and then the Persians took over and then the Arabs took over. And so all these people kind of intermingled and mixed. And a lot of these nations and groups of people adopted, Arab culture. They adopted Islam. Not really Arab culture. More than anything, they adopted Islam. I mean, they became Muslim. And of course, Islam is a religion that came from the Arab world. And so they have, all these sort of Arab names and Arab traditions because, Islam is a religion that came from the Arab world. And so that's why you have that, it's basically, how can I explain it? How can I kind of... So I guess it would be like... I don't even know how to put this for you. I guess it would be like, how you have, Mexico and then how you have the Southwest United States. The people are still kind of connected, right? They still have, a lot of them still have like Mexican heritage and roots, but they've adopted different cultures. Maybe they're slightly different ethnically, maybe a little bit more of a European admixture. So that's what it is. I mean, you had the Arabs and then you had the Caucasian peoples and the Aryans, and then you have, the Africans and the Asians, and we're kind of in the middle as Arabs, so there's around the border, you have all these mixed people, and that's kind of what's happened now with the situation. The interesting thing for me with these fighters like Hamza and Habib and these guys is if you know your history, so there was a first Dark Ages and then kind of like a second Dark Ages came where, or was about to come, where Genghis Khan was coming over from, Mongolia, and he was just going to come into Europe and the Middle East and Africa and just wipe everybody out. I mean, that's what he was doing. They were just coming in, conquering everybody. And so, the Arabs, whose capital I believe at the time was in Egypt, it would go between Damascus, which is in modern day Syria, and Egypt and stuff like that. They would employ these Turkic people, right? These Turkic people, from, the countries now like Azerbaijan and Georgia and places like Dagestan, where Habib is from. They would employ these people as soldiers. These people were warriors. They were warriors since antiquity. And so a lot of, Arab people believe that, these people have like cultivated this warrior culture, because even the Arabs, the Egyptians would actually like take these people as slaves or turn them, and the Arabs, they would turn these people into their warriors. They were called janissaries, I believe, and they would have them fight their wars. And apparently, like at some point, I mean, when you were part of those militaries, eventually you could gain so much power that you could become a leader in Arab culture. And, one name that comes to mind is Baybars. I think he was, one of the basically top people in the Arab world at one point, one of the rulers basically. And, he was actually of Caucasian descent, like Caucasus Mountains, I believe. And, he rose through the ranks as one of these janissaries, as one of these soldiers. So, I mean, these people, these Turkic people have kind of been, fighting and been warriors in the region and having to repel invasions, not only since, the Arabs employed them as soldiers, but, even afterwards. I mean, you saw Russia, like they've had a lot of problems with the Russians, and they've had to, they're always in wars with the Russians and with each other. And so it's like a rough area, and if you read the history on it, they call it the Caucasus, or the Kavkaz is what they call themselves, the Caucasian region. It's a very interesting region, and it's not like Caucasians like you see like, in Western Europe. I mean, these are the original Caucasian from the Kavkaz, and they're like, they're like Turkic. They're kind of, they might remind you of, Iranian, like stuff like that. They're not, they're not like European, right? They're not. I mean, so they have their own culture. They have their own languages. And what happened was, there were their own regions, and eventually they kind of just got taken over by the Russians. But a lot of them don't want to be, I guess, associated with that. They want to maintain, hey, we have our own culture. We're not Russian. We're like, they speak their own language. They're like a Turkic, especially in Dagestan. I think they speak like Kumuk, which is like a Turkish language. So there's a lot of people, in that area, in the borders of Russia, that are, I mean, heck, genetically they might be more, Turkish or Arab than Russian, some of them, you know what I mean? And I actually did a genetic test that showed that the people, at least in my haplogroup, which is haplogroup J, that the people in East Africa and the people in the Arab world and the people in the Caucasus are all like from the same man. And it's interesting because, if you look at East Africa, I mean, this haplogroup includes Nubians, and then it also includes, Caucasians. So it's very interesting that you have such a phenotypically diverse, group of people all coming from the same person. I mean, for me, it kind of wipes away our entire understanding of race, So it's definitely interesting. If you guys haven't done those genetic tests yet and read up on the history of these people, you should definitely do so. Let's see here. I'm sorry, I talk too much. Fight life, don't hold your breath. Our sport sucks. Claudio Morel, oh no, I can't believe you went there with Too Legit to Quit. I thought I was cool listening to Hammer when I was a kid. Me too, man. He was the man, bro. Gabriel 510, what's up, George? How you doing, bro? I'm doing good, brother. I appreciate you being here, man. 92 AKU, did TMZ and rap career hurt his momentum? Nah, man. I think Tyron Woodley's he's just done physically, man. He just didn't age well. His style didn't age well. You know, if he relied on his explosiveness, and he just doesn't have that anymore. Fight Life Nation, George, I'm sure you missed an earlier fight, but the ref really effed up. Jessica Rose Clark threw a knee, KO'd her opponent, but the ref thought it might have been illegal. Man, I don't know why they don't have replays. It's time for Woodley to retire. I think you're right. Gamebred. Claudio Morreal says Woodley just can't beat the top guys no more. I think he might go to Strikeforce. Is Strikeforce even around anymore? Maybe Bellator? 92 AKU says no more championship contender fights, but I'm sure you can make some good old guy fights with him. That's true. And it's funny that Claudio Morreal just brings up Bellator, I believe is what he's trying to bring up, because they love these kind of Masters Division fights, if you will. Gamebred 510 says, I hate to say it, but boxing is in trouble, and I love boxing. Listen, we're always saying boxing is in trouble. Boxing is not in trouble. Boxing is not going anywhere, guys. Remember that. Boxing is not going anywhere. It makes too much money, and people are goofy enough, and it has a long enough history enough to where if you put one fight together, everybody will buy it for one fight. That's the kind of history boxing has. And that's the kind of history that the UFC is trying to make, and that I'm trying to make on this channel for kickboxing. So support your boy. Help me get kickboxing to that level, because our sport, I think, is a lot more honorable. The best guys want to fight the best guys, and I think it's the most entertaining combat sport in the world. The rule set that we use at FightersRep, it's stand and bang, and there's no grappling. If you grapple, just like in boxing, the referee breaks you up, and you just got to stand and bang it out. There's no takedowns. Trust me, just watch any of our free fights. You know what I'm talking about. Gamebred 510 says, or no, I already read that one. Fight Life Nation says he used instant replay, realized he was wrong, restarted the fight. The girl took another minute of punishment. That was against Nevada's rule set. As a promoter, do you have any say over refs? We don't. I don't have any say. I mean, I could probably talk to them and try to influence them just as an observer ringside, but they're going to make their own decisions. Fight Life Nation says, if you get a chance, I would like to hear from Bam Bam Still's thoughts on a ref who breaks the rules and what's the recourse. I think they just don't work. I think they just don't get any work for a while. I can't, I can't really think of any other thing that would happen to him. And I tell people so often, I've said it on this channel many times, if you think you could do a better job, join the athletic commissions. I mean, they hire anybody. These are not, a lot of these people they're hiring aren't, there's nothing special about them. I mean, they're just people that love the fight game, So if you think you could do a better job, if you think you're a competent person, you're a real fight fan, you want to really be involved in combat sports, join, man. Join the sport, Fight Life, 92 Aku says boxing not in trouble. It's just having a really bad year because boxing 2018, 2019 were lit. I agree with that. El Elyon says marhaban akhi, assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmat Allah El Elyon. Thank you, brother, for being in here. Much appreciated. Kevin from Chicago says phone lines open, George. They're working, man, but I just don't want to answer the phone for one person. Nobody wants to call me, so just leave your question here. I love you, though, Kevin. Gamebred 510 says, those were good years for boxing, but this year, I don't. The fights this weekend are going to be great fire. Not really sure what you're saying there, Gamebred. So how Mike Perry 2% black? Oh, my God, that guy's ridiculous, bro. That guy's ridiculous. Gamebred 510 says, it's on September 26th. The boxing world and UFC is going to be lit. El Leon says Ottoman Empire. A lot of slaves came from Eastern Europe, Slovakia, and the other Slavic tribes into North Africa during the Ottoman Empire. For sure, the Arabs, and the Ottomans. I mean, they took slaves. They took slaves from every race. They didn't care, if you got lost in a war against them or whatever it was, you were just going to be a slave. They employed these people from the Caucasus as soldiers, as janissaries, I believe they were called, and they fought their wars. And they become powerful. They became powerfully military members. 92 Aku says, what would Brock Lesnar say to this? I'm a white boy and I'm jacked. Deal with it. Fight Life Nation says, thank you, George, for taking the time to explain something to me I know nothing about. My pleasure, brother. George, I have a name for you to watch. Tyson Nam, 125er with KO powers. 2 KOs in a row. I look forward to it. Claudio Morreal says, meant Bellator. I know you meant Bellator. George, is the Mayweather versus Logan fight official? I don't know if it's official, man. I don't know if it's official, but I do know that it's a ridiculous fight. And I really hope they do boxing a service and include nothing but upcoming talent and prospects on the undercard, because it would be a damn shame if that, fight is kind of the only thing going on that card. If you're going to make these gimmicky, goofy fights, give the young cats some shine, man. 92 Aku says, I'm not woke on kickboxing, but stand and bang is its motto. Sign me up. That's the motto that I made for it. I call it stand and bang. That's what we do. And if you look at our last event especially, because obviously the production is improving every time, check out the fight between Milton Arguello and John Garcia, man. What a war. What a war. Another one was David Yagazarian versus Danny Lozano. Look at that one. Danny Lozano. That was, again, these guys were trying to kill each other in there. And there was a bunch. Check out FightersRep 9. Some of the fights, the people are wearing headgear because they're amateurs. But, at the end of the card, we had a couple pro fights. And the kids that didn't have, less than 3 fights didn't have to wear headgear. So, those are the fights you might want to concentrate on. Although, a couple of these kids, even the ones in the headgear, the amateurs, were just phenomenal. One kid that comes to mind is Sunshine. They call him Sunshine. Shane Collins. What an absolute beast of an athlete he is. We also have Anderson Silva's son. He's fought for us a couple times. Gabe Silva. He's a beast, man, and he won 2 titles at the last FightersRep at FightersRep 8, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. George, what do you think about FightersRep's Kovalev? I love Kovalev, man. He's an iron-chinned, iron-willed Russian kid who, just wants to fight everybody. I always have the utmost respect for kids like that. Kovalev has never told me no, and this is Denis Kovalev. He's never told me no to a fight. He won his last fight. I believe he's 2-2 with us. One of those losses he avenged, and the other loss was against Gabe Silva, Anderson Silva's son, and a lot of people thought Kovalev won that fight. I thought it was so close. A lot of people thought Kovalev won that fight. So he's a warrior, man. He's not the most technical guy, but he's got enough technique to where his will to win and his power, especially in his right hand, and his durability and his stamina, because I think he was training at altitude for the last event, it's enough to get him very far if he stays locked in. And you said, I can't wait for his next fight for sure. And then I also look forward to watching our heavyweight Edgar Barbary. I know you're a big fan of his. Claudio Morreal says, George, I used to work in LA Live. I seen Woodley twice, and one time the guy looked a little chunky. A professional fighter can't do that. Maybe, if he is gaining weight between fights, that might explain and having to lose a lot of weight, that might explain why he's performing the way he is. But more than anything, Claudio, I think it's age at this point, brother. But anyway, Knuckleheads, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon, join Knucklehead Nation, get your Fighters Rep gear, because if you don't have it, you don't know shit about the fight game. I'm going to read one more before I go here. Fight Life Nation says, I thought Kovalev beat Gabe Silva, but I think Silva has grown leaps and bounds since then. Yeah, him and Christian O'Brien, the Black Irishman, are the most improved fighters we have, and I agree with you there. But Knuckleheads, I appreciate you being on here. I'm going to get off now. I'm going to air that little sparring footage / documentary I did today, tomorrow, so definitely tune in and check that out. And I look forward to talking to you guys soon. We'll be putting up content every day.